Thank you, Marcus. Good evening to our school board, my colleagues, parents, families, friends, and graduates. This is an honor. I taught some of these students last year in my AP English Language and Composition course. And I wonder if those students remember a phrase I often repeated. I said it so many times it became like a mantra. And when you're a teacher who happens to have the name Mr. Zen, you can get away with spouting mantras that sound more profound than they perhaps actually are. That mantra consisted of 3 words: defend, challenge, qualify. You see, one of the skills assessed in the course was argumentative writing. And the way the AP goes about this is to present students with a claim or assertion and ask them to decide if they want to defend, I agree, challenge, I disagree, or qualify, I kind of agree, but you see how this works. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Defend, challenge, qualify. Mathematics is more of an art than a science. Defend, challenge, qualify. Diversity is better than uniformity. Hawaii is better than Canada. The milk should go in the bowl before the cereal. Sodexo Starbucks is not actually Starbucks. Superman is better than Batman. Yes. Defend, challenge, qualify. One more. The class of 2019 is the greatest class ever in the history of HKIS. Defend, challenge, qualify. This is a class that is easy to defend. They're the recipients of a staggering number of awards, accolades, and achievements unlocked. Among this group of students is a champion of social justice, an engineer of new technologies for sustainable energy, a musician who has already played to audiences numbering in the thousands, a future teacher who has lifted the lives of local and ethnic minority students, a filmmaker, several in fact, and one in particular who I'm confident will one day make that definitive film adaptation of Superman. There's a baker who makes banana bread to die for, a breakfast club who is wonderful company to have in the morning when you are setting up your classroom, and as my own children can attest, 2 awesome babysitters. Yes, I have trusted these students with my own children. This is a class that can rally, that can find unity in disunity, that is fearless in their willingness to be vulnerable and embracing of each other in challenging times of collective grief. They get it. They are looking around this gym right now at all of you in the audience who have arrived to celebrate their commencement, knowing that the success they have achieved, regardless of their final GPA, or the ranking of the university they may be attending, or the severity of the senioritis they suffered in the last month, or 12, they get that the success they have achieved today is beyond what most young people their age around the world could ever imagine. They are not taking this for granted. And they want for you to know and trust that they have earned this. Given all that potential and talents, I'd like then to issue the class of 2019 a challenge. A simple one. Wash the dishes. I could easily offer clean your room, walk the dog, or take out the trash, recycling. But let's start with washing the dishes. Please, do your parents or the helpers in your lives a solid and wash the dishes. Before you go off to conquer the world or save it or change it, wash the dishes. If you are worrying about when you will peak, or if you have peaked, or if you will ever peak, take a deep breath, and wash the dishes. I know this from experience. I remember a conversation I had with my mother in the days leading up to my own graduation. After dinner one night, she asked me to wash the dishes. As I started to run the water over the pots and pans, my hands started to shake. I turned off the faucet and hands still dripping with soap. I asked my mom if she would sit down with me because I had something to confess. You see, I'd been harboring a secret. I had not gotten into any colleges. For months, I had led her to believe that I had at least gotten into my local state college, the University of Hawaii, which, for my mom, a Taiwanese immigrant who still couldn't understand why I wasn't going to Harvard, was already enough of a disappointment. Now, at the risk of losing some credibility in front of all these parents, not to mention my colleagues and principal and the head of school and all the board members, my cumulative GPA at the end of high school was a 2.6. That was an audible gasp. A 2.6 was not enough to meet the admission requirements of the University of Hawaii. I confessed this to my mother, and with tears of shame, I told her not to worry, I had a plan. That I was going to retake a course over the summer to boost my GPA, that my counselor was helping me to write a letter of appeal to the university, that I'd go to community college first if I had to, and eventually transfer, and that I was going to quit my minimum wage job at that movie theater and get a better job at that new Starbucks in Kahala Mall to help pay for all of it. I made grand declarations that I would change my ways, take things seriously, and focus for my future. My mom looked at me, her own eyes starting to well with tears. And as she took my hands in hers, she said, "Yes, son, you will do all those things. But first, can you wash the dishes?" So I did. I washed those dishes. I realized my mom was not disappointed. She just wanted me to get on with it. That night, I washed those dishes like I had never washed dishes before. After such an emotional outburst, my mind was oddly clear. I wasn't thinking about my plans or regrets. I was washing the dishes only to wash the dishes. And there was a comfort in the tangibility and achievability of doing something I had up until then always thought of as a tedious and boring chore. You could say that was the first step of the proverbial journey of 1,000 miles that did lead me to college. Thank God for high school counselors. That letter of appeal works. And after college and a postgraduate degree, I was led to my first job teaching, and then moving to Hong Kong, meeting my wife, having my kids, and finding my way here to HKIS. Class of 2019, before you leave your families and home, take the opportunity to wash the dishes. In the communal kitchens of your future dormitories or your first apartments, help your roommates out and wash the dishes. Be that person. In the pursuit of what you deem to be meaningful, do not forget to attend to the menial. It plays as important a role in your life's purpose and to the people that matter to you, as do your lofty aspirations and proud ambitions. My second child was born the very first week I started working here at HKIS. And because I wanted to give my all to this new job, I was not the most attentive father or husband. I remember coming home from work to my wife, who had spent all day wrangling 2 kids, looking so tired, like she had done 8 IFs. In her 12th round of feeding an insatiably hungry baby, I looked at her and asked if there was anything I could do to help. Guess what she said? Wash the dishes. My colleagues, Mr. Coons and Mr. Schmidt, recently reminded me of a quote from the writer and Buddhist monk Jack Kornfield, who said, "After the ecstasy, the laundry." He wrote, "Enlightenment is only the beginning, is only a step of the journey. You have to get back down into the messy business of life, to engage with life. Only then can you integrate what you've learned." The poet John Berryman put it simply, "Life, friends, is boring. We must not say so. After all, the sky flashes, the great sea yearns. We ourselves flash and yearn." The rapper Kendrick Lamar perhaps put it even more simply, "Sit down, be humble." How reassuring to know that when we come down off that mountain, off the high of something like this very graduation night, there may be dishes waiting for us in the sink. In your future careers and artistic pursuits, when you're filled with the transcendent, energetic charge of possibility and creativity, and you don't know where to begin, or, and equally likely, in times of loss, disappointment, and setbacks so overwhelming, you don't know how you'll face another day, find the strength, as you have before, to get on with it, one dish at a time. That's my defense and my challenge, and finally a qualification. I have to qualify all that I've said by letting you know that when it comes to this class, I am hopelessly biased. The first students from the class of 2019 I met was 3 years ago in my 10th grade humanities course. The joy I felt teaching them and the inordinate level of engagement and encouragement they showed me as a teacher new to HKIS has become a standard by which I will measure all my future students. I'd like to end with how I started with that class, a roll call. Fede, Liberty, Miguel, Adrian, Julia, Ilona, Eileen, Preston, Ash, Sophia, Aoife, Fonzo, India, Ashley, Darren, Jeffrey, Sophie, and Tianjin. Sophia, your countdown is done, and the new one is about to begin. And Ash, are you crying yet? Ash told me she voted for me to give the speech because she knew I'd make her cry. I'm not trying to make anyone cry, but here's one last sentiment. I cannot say for certain what is next for you all, but what I do know with absolute certainty is that while you were here, you were loved, and when you are gone, you will be missed. Thank you, and congratulations to the class.